Welcome to the quarterly relaunch, the
15th annual
relaunch of the Blades of Steel podcast. I'm Kevin Trost with
Jesse
Christensen.
We kind of do a new thing where I just one name only,
like Madonna,
like Rihanna or Prince.
I like it,
but more alive than Prince.
Not someday you'll just be a symbol. What would be your symbol? Not the jump man.
Not the jump man.
Not the jump
I can't
man.
jump.
I was gonna say squinty eyes, but you got the surgery.
Dude,
so.
that's rude.
Well, sometimes you got to take
That's
it.
rude, Jared. It's not like I come in just like, boom, Jared, you could lose a few pounds. Jared.
Well, sometimes I need to hear that. It'll motivate.
Have you ever thought about plastic surgery? Jared, I got plastic surgery on my eyelids already, and it didn't work. What else do you want me to do?
I said I would have said that if you wouldn't.
How many surgeries do you want to shame me into having, Jared?
We have a couple order of business for the fans. Just a couple things to catch you up. So update from our last podcast. I literally, as that music was going, as our intro music was going, I was pressing send on hopefully the last time that's our intro music, because I just emailed the Crash Test Dummies agent, Julian.
Who I'm assuming big fans of the pod.
Big Julian, shout out. I'm sure you're listening. And I asked for permission to use a Crash Test Dummies song as one of our, as our new intro music. I just think they deserve it, dude. They were such a big part of the pod as it was getting going, and just the inspiration to even have the courage. Like, they have Superman by Crash Test Dummies. Go download it, folks, if you find it. It'll give you more courage to start a podcast than anything else in this world.
If they give us full permission of the catalog, is Superman what you want to go with?
No, of course not.
God shuffled his feet.
I wouldn't mind if we celebrated their whole collection.
Hey, before we dig in, can we do a sugar salt?
Yeah.
To Jared.
Ooh, yeah.
What is that?
You're gonna find out. Number one, Jared. Jared has done a lot of upgrades to the studio. You're going to notice much better video quality.
I spent my own money on those cameras.
You definitely did not, Jared. You didn't invest one dime into the podcast.
I think you might have spent our own money, but that's okay.
And
money
also,
divvy card.
Hey, Jared, I'm supposed to still be doing sugar, and you're forcing me into a salt moment. This might be like sugar, salt.
Is this where you're nice salt. And then rude?
No, it's just like sugar and salt. They're contrasting things, Jared. Okay. You can label it nice and rude if you want. I call it sugar, salt.
Okay.
One, for real, good job on the studio. It looks amazing in here. It's like a real thing now with real quality video.
Can I do the second sugar?
Yeah.
Jared released his first single off his new album that was highlighted in on another podcast.
Yes, it was.
I don't know if you can say the name of Jared's band, though, because our moms listen to this.
Yeah, plus Jared will sue us.
It's kind of a Utah
You don't have permission to use the name of Jared's band on the pod.
Yeah, but the song is called
Blinded.
And sing us just a little bit of the chorus. Do it, Jared. Hurry.
Jared,
this is your chance.
I'll never know the way you told me. I'm just joking.
Don't say you're just joking.
You're not
That's
just joking.
Dude.
That was great.
Own it. Tom DeLonge from Blink, but it was kind of failing.
No, dude, it was good.
That's good.
Do you have additional sugars?
And Jared completed another Ironman, but he only did half of it. And so he's like a half Ironman.
Well, they have the 70.3 distance, but I like to fool people and say it's an Ironman, even though it's not a full.
I went and watched
you
at
like
the
to
finish
fool people?
line. Hey,
or you like to lie to people?
I only like to give half.
No, it's called lie, but I also lied.
Lying, Jared.
I went and welcomed him at the finish line, and I've been telling people, I completed an Ironman too. I've completed as much of an Ironman as Jared did that day, almost.
Fool. Like when Jonah hid from God and he took off and ended up in the well, he's like, I was just fooling you, big guy.
I don't know that story.
Just fooling.
I don't read that book.
Hey, are you ready for the salt now?
Yeah, let's hear it.
What is all this black dust at my area? Look at this.
Whoever was putting on
it's like some kind of anthrax, Are you trying to poison me?
I
It's
think
actually pepper.
let's have it tested.
This is like the heavy metals that they put in the vaccine that ruined my heart, and now you've like sprinkled it all over here to remind me.
From what I've been hearing, there may have just been normal tap water that evaporated, and that's what was left. Because it
Hey,
sounds
Jared,
like we're all being poisoned.
Cut all that vaccine thing out. I think they'll take us down from YouTube.
Yeah,
if you
there's
make
no way
any
Crash
vaccine
Test Dummies
jokes.
are going to be affiliated with us now.
Hey, my other salt, as long as we're like on the salt subject, is
be honest
with the new studio and all the investment we made into this beautiful video. You took it upon yourself to, for the first time, record someone else's, another company's podcast with our video,
With our cameras.
Well, that company does.
Well, thanks, Jared.
pay you
Jared,
guys.
shut up.
All right. We
Honestly, pretty rude.
Well, sometimes you got to be charitable and other people use your stuff too.
Like, we have tried to get you in here 100 times to record with the new stuff, and you haven't been available. Your busy schedule, but you sure found time to record someone else with our equipment. So thanks
busy
for that.
editing. Busy editing.
Thanks
His
for
name is
that, buddy.
Anthony Ottaviano. Check him out on YouTube.
Oh my gosh.
All right.
Bring back Osmos.
I want to talk about the Ducks.
Hey, for real though, if we record again and this dust is here,
Back to Osmus.
you're dead.
We're bringing Osmus back.
Well, I didn't plan it there. It was one of Kendall's guys. So
We brought you in.
Do you have the dust?
Well, yeah, it's everywhere. We brought you in, Jared, to take this podcast to the next level, not to make a mockery of our studio.
Should we do some sugars for ourselves? I don't think we need any salts, but like,
Yeah,
should we
I'll
trade
give you
sugars?
a sugar.
Okay.
Jess, I feel like if I put you in charge of producing this podcast, this place would be looking a lot nicer because you actually take pride in your work.
I agree. Another sugar. I like your hat.
Thank you.
It's like a, what was that? TNC Surf Factory? What was the old?
Okay,
Fear Factor.
No, not Fear Factor. Like, you're probably too young, Jared. You don't know.
I don't know the name of this hat. I'm going to tell you the story of this hat.
What was that
because
video game called?
What, Teenage Mutant
Like,
Ninja Turtles?
no, there was like a surfing, skating. Maybe it was a computer game.
OC, I remember what it was. And you like just do ollie kick flips
Hey,
the
like,
whole
very
time.
much like that.
Thank
I
you.
also am looking young. I like went into Bauer's closet. A lot of oversized shirts.
We're both wearing oversized shirts. I don't know if I would consider mine oversized or just for the first time I'm wearing a shirt that fits me.
We both have lost a lot of weight. I didn't put you in the sugar, Jared, because like I don't really.
Well, I
know.
did hear these cameras add 15 pounds, so I don't think it's good.
And we still looking good.
I don't know what you're doing.
How many people just paused the podcast and switched over to YouTube?
I got my
See what we're talking about?
I got my colon sewed shut, so like that was a good.
Oh, yeah, you were in the
look,
hospital.
A good leap forward. Like take out all my insides, boom, 15 pounds down.
Wow.
I'm gonna schedule another surgery next week.
Maybe I should do that.
When
Maybe you should do it multiple times.
when people call this guy the man, the myth, the legend, they're not joking because he was in the hospital for 3 days and the doctors could not figure out what ailed him.
And then honestly, Kevin came and did a prayer for me. Good friend. Kevin came and did a prayer, and
Did it help? I don't.
2 to 9 days later, I was feeling fantastic, Jared.
And right after that, within 48 hours, he was out of the hospital.
Close
Jared,
to
how many times did you visit Jesse in the hospital?
First off, I didn't know he was
Zero.
until he posted.
How many times did you text me? 0.
Remember I said.
But when you had like a little like flare up in your throat,
That's
you
not.
literally messaged the whole world.
That's not true. I text you. And
Really?
said,
The
"Hope you're
Attorney
feeling
General
better."
of Utah had to
Remember?
declare it a national emergency.
Hey guys, I had some heartburn last night. Got to go in for surgery.
Well, I do like the pity likes on Facebook. So
What do we want to talk about your surgery or the Ducks?
My ducks?
Yeah.
Either one.
I think the fans need to
Both
know.
of these are some real old man stuff. but
Jesse's entered the old man phase of life where
of getting colonoscopies and just feeding the ducks.
the menopause, is that what they call it?
Jesse bought a new house just so he could feed ducks, and it's paying off.
Do you have to take testosterone pills, or is that still going?
Have to?
And pills?
That's what happens when you're old.
All
You have
right,
to
Jared.
You don't have
You
to.
weren't-
You get to, Jared.
Yeah, Jared, you weren't around. This podcast used to be very pro steroids.
Yeah.
The fact that you would call them testosterone pills is like you.
It's the one Frank Thomas uses.
Oh my
That's
gosh!
fake stuff, Jared. We use needles.
Okay.
Real needles administered by a doctor.
For recovery purposes only, Jared.
Well, if Frank Thomas is so
Who was the
long
Barry
ahead.
Bonds doctor? Why can't I remember his name anymore? He's like the
Fauci?
No. Fauci. What was that guy's name? Why can't I remember him now?
I don't remember either. Now I can just think of
So annoying. I know what he looks
Dr.
like.
Drew?
No, the steroid doctor. Barry Bonds' his doctor. That little squirrely guy.
not Jose Canseco, the actual doctor, not his supplier.
You keep talking. I'm going to Google it because if I don't remember it, it's going to drive me nuts.
Okay.
Thousands of fans are shouting.
I know.
Everyone knows
Rob
his name.
Crockett right now is like, I can't. You call yourselves sports fans.
Onward.
Just to catch up, in case Jeremy Osmus is listening, disgruntled ex-producer of the show, Barry Bonds played for the Pirates and then the Giants. He was a home run hitter. When he started, he was like a 40-40 threat, more of a home run,
Victor
stolen
Conte.
base. Ooh,
There we go.
Mr. Conte. And now his head is the biggest head in the world after Mayor Giuliani. Mayor Giuliani has a giant head. You'll notice next time you see it now. Barry Bonds' head is the second biggest.
I gave away a Barry Bonds home run ball to a kid.
I promise I don't believe you.
No, I did. I was at a Nationals game, and I got it, and I gave it to a little kid.
That's actually cool.
Were you interested in his mom?
Yes, very much so.
Hey, is there anything else you want to go over before we dive into some sports stuff? Because we picked the
There's
most
so much
boring.
going on.
We picked the most boring week of just sports in general, but we have like 3 months of like backlog that we can go over, and there's been some like awesome stuff that I actually want to talk
This is a
about.
good thing about never recording the pod.
Just everything's fresh.
Talk about the AFC Championship.
Okay, I want to start, if you don't mind. Let's start with baseball. We don't have to spend much time on it because I just said that we lost thousands of
And you know
listeners.
I've only watched like 4 games since.
Yeah. So I'm going to run through a couple things. The Cardinals suck. The Braves are amazing. Ohtani, are you guys aware of who that is?
Oh yeah, he's going to the Yankees.
Ohtani mania. So I do want to ask if you could have Ohtani. So Ohtani is arguably the best pitcher, arguably the best hitter in baseball right now. He's leading the league in home runs. He also is one of the best pitchers, and like he's leading baseball in like 12 categories. Some of them are pitching, a lot of them are hitting. He really is. People compare him to Babe Ruth. It's so much different than what Babe Ruth was. But the idea of what Babe Ruth was, yeah, this is the first thing we've had that's close to it. But people are saying, so he's going to be a free agent at the end of the year. A lot of people do not think he'll re-sign with the Angels. And so the Angels have a decision to make. Do I trade him or do I sell him? But people are saying as a hitter, he would get at least $35 million a year. As a pitcher, he'd get at least $35 million a year. And so people think his contract is going to be well north of $50 million a year. And it's probably worth every penny. Not to mention, you get Shohei mania, which I lived through Ichiro mania, and it was fantastic. And it brought a lot of money into Seattle and things. So whatever team's getting Shohei, they're getting the best player in the world. They're getting, one of the best players at 2 positions, and he only takes a 1 roster spot. And the team probably is worth $1 billion more with him on your team. And so, Jesse, who do you think he's going to go to? Or who would you want him to go to?
Who would I want him to go to? The Phillies or the Padres, because those are 2 teams I watch and like.
What
That's
if the
not,
Padres
that's not where I think he's going.
Where do you think he'll go?
New York. 'Cause it's stupid.
New York's got a lot of money.
Where everyone's going to go.
So I think
All
that
the
the
time.
odds in Vegas.
Or the Dodgers.
Yeah, I think the Dodgers are in the lead. The Yankees are always in the mix for overpaying anything. I've been hearing lately the 2 teams that have kind of snuck in are the Braves. What if the Braves got Shohei Ohtani? They're already so good.
That would be just another reason for people in Atlanta to like ignore the Falcons.
But then in Seattle this week was the All-Star game. And I'm a Seattle fan. It's well documented, so I'm a little bit of a homer. But there's starting to be a little buzz going around. So during the All-Star game, they were chanting, "Come to Seattle." He grew up idolizing Ichiro, who obviously loved Seattle. The fans are always passionate in Seattle. He's made mention of that. And he has spent a couple off seasons in Seattle. Is Seattle willing to pay anybody over $500 million for a 10, 12-year contract? I don't know. Maybe. They know what a guy like Ichiro could do to your city more than anybody else. But, Jared, where do you think he's going?
Yankees. I'm a Yankees
You're such
fan.
a homer.
Here's the
How
thing,
could I not
because
say Yankees?
No, stop.
because
Jesse,
you prayed for me when I was in the hospital, I will pray for you that he goes to Seattle.
thank you. I could
Then
use
I'll talk to the Slice, who's like a bigger Mariners fan.
Oh.
And I mean, he actually did attend the All-Star game, I guess. So like, he has 3 seats to prove he's a bigger fan.
Yeah.
If anyone can get him there, it's the Slice.
Should we talk little? I know we got a worldwide fan base listening right now, but can we go a little Utah drama? All right, so Salt Lake City announced.
I held back like 9 comments. when you said that.
Salt Lake, our Netherlands fans, I'm sure, are gonna skip this part. Fast forward to like minute 17. I'll keep it short. But okay, Salt Lake City announced they're trying to get a team. It was Larry H. Miller's group. Ooh, there's a little competition going on where.
Kind of sexist that you don't call it Gail's group. But.
Oh, that's true. Gail, I'm sorry. If you, I'm sure she is. Gail, I'm sure you're listening, and I'm sorry. Gail loves the updates, just the quarterly updates that we provide. Like Gail's really into those. No, but so there's another group, and I don't want to say any names, but it might be the group that bought the Jazz from Gail. Oh, by the way, no longer the Vivint Smart Home Arena. It's back to the Delta Center.
Praise the Lord.
Full circle. 20 years later, we're back to the Delta Center. I've never stopped calling it the Delta Center but there's another group who is trying to bring in an NHL team to kind of combat that coming in. Is there a chance that either come? Or is there a better chance one of them come? What do you think?
You probably know better than me. I don't think that, I'm curious outside of Utah, like if there's any buzz at all about Utah's in the running for a base.
I didn't buy it until I actually saw it on ESPN. And then I was like,
really?
At least they covered
Tell me this because I didn't hear it or see it. Because I don't watch ESPN anymore.
Okay, so here's kind of my opinion on so if they're going to add a team, they'll add 2. So usually you don't add one expansion team. When the Rockies got added, they added the Marlins at the same time, right? So American National League will probably add a team each. I'm hearing Nashville or North Carolina for the National League. On the West Coast, I'm hearing Vegas is probably the front runner, and then there's Salt Lake and Portland that are both going for a team. So there's actually pretty accurate stuff. Like these are pretty good
before any
sources.
expansion, the 2 things gotta get settled, right? So the A's got to land somewhere.
Okay, yeah. So
probably Vegas, and then I guess there's something wrong with Tampa. I don't know what's going on in Tampa.
Yeah, okay. So teams could relocate. The A's need to, and I love the A's did a protest where the A's did a protest instead of not showing up to the games, which is what has been happening every week. They wanted to prove that, hey, we would show up to games. You've just given us such a bad product, and so they did a protest where they filled the stadium and were going like nuts. We should have gone to that game. How fun would that game have been? Like a full crowd to just a meaningless regular season game in Oakland. Their point was, we're not bad fans. You're giving us a bad product. We would support a good product. That's debatable. But a lot of people think that the A's are going to be relocating to Vegas. So my opinion is Vegas will get a team. If they can get them to relocate the A's to Vegas, then I do think that Salt Lake and Portland are the 2 teams that are kind of in the running. And I'm very biased, but I think Salt Lake would get the team before Portland for a lot of reasons.
What about Nashville and Charlotte? Don't you feel like we're for sure behind Nashville?
No. But I think it'll be one or the other of those on that coast. And so I think it's going to be Nashville. I think the A's will relocate. I think that the Salt Lake and Nashville will both get expansion teams in the next 5 years. That's my personal opinion. It's coming from actually some pretty decent sources, but they also are probably biased too. I don't know. Should we do it?
What, get the team?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm in.
Okay.
Let me know where to send my check.
Gail, let us know. I am going to reach out to their group though, and I will donate as much of my time to help this happen. I don't even want free seats. I just want them to give me the ability to buy the first 4 seats next to the visitor dugout. So when the Mariners can come to town, I can just hang out with Julio for a little bit. That's honestly like all I would want. And I would donate. I would literally donate a year of my life to helping you guys bring it here, whatever that means. Now, as one of the biggest Bees fans, minor league baseball.
I definitely have attended more Bees games than you in the last 10 days.
you've
I was there
attended more.
Saturday. I was there Saturday night.
You've been
I
more
like the
intense.
Bees.
Yeah, you've been more in the last 10 days than I've ever been to. It's weird. No one likes minor league baseball more than me, and I can't get into the Bees. I don't know why.
I like that. Maybe you hate your family.
Yeah.
It's not the Bees. It's just take your family out to the. We had this talk before on here. But
No, I know.
it's just good. You take your family out. Bees are up 12 runs. You can leave early. You don't care because your ticket costs $3.72.
You can catch a home run ball, pretend it was by a guy named Barry Bonds, and give it to a kid.
I take Tatum. She's very into like guys. She's in love with everyone. She always finds like a new boyfriend. She loves it. On the team,
All right. Well,
not in the
Well,
stands.
if you're mentioning the Bees, I heard the Angels are for sale, so they could buy the Angels.
oh, you should buy him, Jared.
Yeah, Gail could buy them.
Ooh. Don't talk to Gail. You don't know her. Gail, focus on me and Jesse. Okay, but the main thing I want to talk about when it comes to baseball is the All-Star game. Something's happened to me, dude. And I actually want to talk about this. The All-Star game was in Seattle this year. I was actually in Seattle the week before for the 4th of July. Beautiful place. Nowhere better in America than Seattle on the 4th of July. It honestly is the perfect place. But I was going to stick around for the All-Star game, the Home Run Derby. I decided I needed to come back. I was going to fly back out, and I just didn't go. And I could have made it happen. There was reasons for me not to go. I could have made it happen, but I can't blame it on I just couldn't go because of this. I could have made it happen if I really wanted to. And I think I've like made a promise to myself like 1,000 times. I've never been, one of the only sporting events I've never been to is a World Series because I won't go unless the Mariners make it there. And I've always said if the Mariners are in the World Series or if the All-Star game's in Seattle, like no matter what, I'm going to go. And I didn't go. What's happening to me, dude? I'm 43. I'm looking like I'm 39 still. Like I feel like I'm still a young buck and wanting to have fun, but diagnose this, Jesse.
You've given up. It's called giving up.
Quitting and a baggy
yourself.
shirt.
It's called quitting on yourself. Yeah.
Is there any way back, or do I need to accept this new life
I don't
I'm
know.
living?
Is this your segue into the new podcast, or is this just actually a question?
No, this is like a real question, but it also adds for a perfect sake. Oh, Crash Test Dummies, we could use 2 of their songs, one for each of our podcasts.
Just make it super sad.
Well, no, first answer my question because it's a real question. I've been to less sporting events this year than I've ever been in my life, and we own a sports marketing company. We have a sports podcast, and I still love sports.
Let's talk about the new podcast, and that will answer this somewhat.
Okay.
So, obviously, if you listen to the show, you know I'm not as into baseball and basketball and some of the other sports as you, and I'm a hardcore football guy. So we are going to launch a second podcast because we're so good at being diligent on the first one. We might as well have 2.
Consistency is key.
So the second one's going to be a football only, but this is kind of the theme of it, right? Of what I was kind of thinking about football. Like I love football, but it's not the same as like when you were a little kid and when you're so passionate and you're so all into it. So the second pod is really going to be maybe like a therapy love letter, like to football of like, how do you find your way back to maybe some of the sports fandom you had when you were a little kid? And is it even really possible? Or is it even a wise idea? Like, is it a good reason that maybe you're...
I was going to say, is it healthy that I didn't find a way to get to Seattle, spend thousands of dollars? You know what I mean? Like, am I just more responsible now? That seems boring.
I think on that pod, we're going to talk, or at least in the beginning, maybe episodes of like, what are some of the reasons maybe you drift away? But I think the efforts of that pod is really, one, it's just an excuse for us to like go do a bunch more football stuff and say it's in the name of the podcast. But there is something that happens, I think, as you get older that probably should a little bit, that there's 1,000 reasons, right? Like I was kind of thinking about this. I remember, Jared, do you play video games still?
I play sports video games.
A little bit.
Kevin,
I know
look at you. So you're an athlete.
I am.
You are an
see my avatar.
athlete.
I know you don't play any video games anymore.
I'm not a video game guy.
Neither do I, and I don't mean to offend anyone.
But I've seen the movie Wizard. Go on.
I kind of vividly remember the day, like in my mid-20s, where I was like playing a video game, and there's like, I have children, and there was like $9 in my bank account, and I was like, am I a loser? At some point, you kind of like got to get your shit together and like own your life, right? And I think if some of that, you can drift away from like being as invested in it Also, maybe you have a moment like me where you get like so emotionally invested in an outcome and then you don't get it. You're like, this is not healthy, right? When the Falcons lost the Super Bowl, I had this big wake up moment of like, should I care this much about this? And I have not been the same ever since.
I felt like I didn't even really mess with you about it, and our friendship took a hit.
Yeah.
I made one comment.
You made a joke from a stage, and I haven't attended a sporting event with you since. And it was, and you know it, and I know it.
And
Dave
I knew
knows it.
before
and
I
Dave's
said
still
it.
mad.
Hey,
I forgave you. Dave's still angry.
It was in front of a lot of people, but before I said it, I thought to myself, oh, this is going to have a ripple effect. I hope this is worth it. But it was so funny.
This is part of it, though. Should I have been that upset about it and carry it that long?
I guess. What was the joke?
Oh, no.
He made a 28-3 joke from a stage in front of a large audience, and I was the butt of that joke.
Oh,
no. And it wasn't it wasn't. He couldn't defend himself, and it wasn't fair, and I knew it wasn't fair, and it was in front of a lot of people, and it wasn't right, and I've apologized. I've taken him to dinner. I've given him prayers in hospitals. I've done a lot to try to mend it, and I can't seem to. So, yeah, you shouldn't care that much, but I love that you do, and that's what this new podcast is going to be about. Is like, let's rekindle this, and let's invite our listeners to rekindle with us.
This new podcast is maybe like a therapy session with football, right? Like visiting the past. What are the reasons like you fell in love with football as a little kid? I think we're going to do a lot of history. I think we're going to get a lot of like old NFL players on the podcast that people, maybe this new generation like doesn't know, kind of telling the history of like who are the people that like we fell in love with as little kids in football, like what got us so excited about them, and then kind of getting back out there and like, you should have gone to that, right? This is going to be episode 1, so I'm not going to go too much into it, but like I went out to the Manning camp. You didn't go with me. I invited you.
I know I'm horrible.
But that's also part of it too. Like I think that's going to be episode 1 is we'll go over like the Manning camp stuff, but there was so much fun stuff out there that kind of made me feel like a little kid again. And I think maybe just like it's okay to feel like that, right? Like maybe you don't want to feel like a fanboy, but like, dude, it's cool to sit 3 feet away from all the Mannings and hear him talk and see him interact. Like super fun experience for me. And I think maybe 1, because we have a podcast, 2, because we have a sports marketing company, 3, because you just like get older. People like don't want to act like they're a fanboy or admit like, oh, it's cool. Dude, it's freaking cool to me.
Yeah.
That stuff's cool. And maybe I'm just ready to like readmit it.
Yeah. No, that's so funny you say that, because, and we really haven't talked about this that much, even though I'm really excited about it. My New Year's resolution this year was quit being a pessimistic fan of my own teams. Like, right? Like, I don't want to be I have to be realistic in other areas of my life. I want to be a fan. I want to like buy in. I want to be blindly loyal. I want to be like Jared is with his Yankees, even though he's not even a fan and he's more optimistic than me, you know? But the thing I'm excited about it is this is one of the first podcasts where we're going to introduce experiential podcasting.
I hate you so much. I hate you so much.
No, but I'm excited. We're going to have some fun giveaways.
I mean, you are correct, but I hate you so much.
I do think it'd be fun to like interact with some of the fans as we're doing these experiential things. Sorry, Jesse and I, to catch everyone up, Jesse and I's favorite new word is experiential. Like you're not allowed to invest. You have to experientially invest, or you're not.
Even a word?
Experiential?
Yeah, I don't even.
Yeah, I don't know. If Utah influencers made it up, Jared, it's a word.
Anyways,
Okay, I like it.
So
no, I think it's valid though. Like obviously, I travel to go to sports more than you. You've like completely quit. So part of this is to like reignite your flame too.
I don't even know if I've been on a plane this year.
I don't know when the last time I always still go to Falcons games, but like even outside of that, like I was kind of going through the list of like what are some of the reasons. I think like the evolution of media and how they're going to make money off us has changed a little bit for me. I'm not as like big into gambling as you are. Not saying you gamble a bunch, but like following it and tracking it. Like I think gambling has affected how people like
interact with their sport.
With it.
Yeah.
I think some of the new things like Red Zone, right? Like
fantasy sports,
Red Zone, because and this there's nothing's right or wrong. I'm talking about me personally. You know, I like to think of myself as like an old school football purist. And so there's something about the red zone that I can appreciate. And then it bugs me when all my friends and everyone's texting. I'm just like, oh, you guys are just watching the red zone. Like, you're not watching football. You guys are watching like it's it's a live highlight show, right? And it's cool and it's awesome, and I use it.
It's a fantasy sport. It literally is. It's not even it is. You care more about your fantasy sports team than your actual football team.
And there's something
that's what
about,
bugs you.
There's something about the older days when we grew up where it's just like, no, the Cowboys and the 49ers are playing, and that's the game on Fox. And everyone's going to watch it, and everyone's listening to Madden and Summerall, and everyone's like experiencing the same thing together. And there's a part of me that I think gets saddened of like, oh, it's fractured. I do love that you have access to everything. As a little kid, like I couldn't watch Falcons games. They weren't available. So I'm having to tune into Boomer to like see and TJ to see what actually happened. But there is still something about like, oh, I wish, even though I'm not with you or you, Jared, like there's a part of me that's nostalgic of like, I wish we were all watching the same thing right now so that if I shoot this text off, everyone saw the same thing and understands the story to the buildup of the moment instead of just like, yeah, I'm on red zone. I saw that touchdown too. Okay, well, you don't understand what happened on the drive leading up to it, or like it's almost like this bastardized version of like you're ripping the storyline out and you're just reading the ending of the book and like kind of bugs me.
It's the Snapchat version of sports.
And fantasy is probably like the leading factor in that, right?
For
like
sure.
I quit fantasy because there's like parts of it.
Yes, you did.
And those are all, here's the thing. I love if people like love the sport because of those things. It's not wrong. I'm just kind of going through like, what are the things that made me kind of be like, and then the other one with all the media is like, I just signed my little thing to get a few more TVs in my house and like a theater screen. And really one of the reasons is this, as technology's evolved, I've found myself watching football games on my phone, partially just because like when you're at church, you can't really bring a big screen TV in, you know?
Depends on the church.
That's another thing. Like I bet you I watched 95% of all the Falcons game last year on my iPhone. It's cool that it's handy and take it everywhere, whatever, but then you're missing, like, it's like saying you're going to go to the new Mission Impossible and then just be like, no, I'll just stream it on my phone. Like, you're not going to get the same experience, the same involvements. Like, one of my commitments this year is like, oh no, hang large TVs back up again in your house. And because it kind of just gotten rid of TVs in my house pretty much. Like, put a big TV up and recreate like
the experience
of it.
Experiential watching.
I hate you.
And it's funny. I didn't even know we were going to promote the new podcast today, but I'm glad we are because I am excited about it. It reminded me this week. So I went to a card shop. This kid was sitting there, and I opened a pack, and I got a Dalton Kincaid 1 of 1, right? And I was just started laughing, and it was the only 1 of 1, the only one in the world. I pulled it, and I was just like, oh, that's so funny. And this kid's like, oh, that's my favorite player, and like so I FaceTimed Dalton right there to try to, and right then I was like, dude, Dalton was playing 20 minutes from my house, right? So he played his final year in college 20 minutes from my house. I like love Dalton. He's like one of my favorite dudes. Like he's just like the coolest dude. He's going to be so fun for me to root for. And I didn't go watch him. And we have access as much as we want in the Utah schools, especially to go see a game. I never watched Dalton his senior year, or not senior year, his final year, play one live down of football. Like, why wasn't I at one of his games just to support him, let alone the other guys on the team and stuff? I've been noticing a lot of things in my life that just need to change, and I need to put a little more effort in. This podcast is going to help. I'm excited. One of my favorite things.
Everyone listening, like, oh, here's two middle-aged dudes going through a midlife crisis 100%. And explaining to us how they're going to fix it by just like watching more football.
No, one of the funnest, but I love the experiential side of this, Jesse. No, one of my favorite things we ever did was during the NFL draft a couple years ago, we did like a live stream where we had different athletes from different teams coming on, saying who they wanted to pick, giving a little analysis. Like some of them, we barely even talked about football, but it was such like a fun interacting.
And what's funny for me is I was like, I don't ever want to do that again because I didn't get to like watch the draft.
I know, and I was just, and we spent like 40 hours preparing for that. I mean, that was fun. Dude, I like loved it, but those are the things when we started this podcast, and honestly, when we acquired the sports marketing firm and everything, that's why we did it. Is we enjoy that stuff, and so I'm excited to dive back in.
Yeah,
and
maybe
find
there's a reality
reason to
when
live
you,
again.
When you try and make some of that stuff like your business, it takes some of the shine off a little bit.
A little bit.
But it shouldn't.
It's just like when we made Jared our producer. I don't even like him anymore. This place is the mess, dude.
Hey, sometimes, I realize I need to improve, so next time there will be no black dust, okay?
Thank you.
It would be nice if you could dust in here before we came in.
Okay, I'll do that.
Okay, I do have, I don't want to talk too much about football because we just went on a nice fun little tangent.
That's the introduction. That feed will be on our same feed. We'll label it differently.
Do you have a name?
Different sponsors. Different sponsors.
I've got 6 working titles.
6 working titles.
Yeah. We'll pick one soon.
And we're going to be interviewing for producers in about a week or so. And so, Jared, if you want to throw your hat in the ring.
Good luck. No one's going to beat me. So
honestly, it's going to be a lot like the combine. We're going to make you sprint. We're going to make you bench press. If you don't have 32 reps at 225 in you, there's no way you're producing this podcast.
Will you not
feel free to try out
as well?
You do have some pretty big triceps.
Yeah, we're going to have open tryouts. If the state of this podcast studio is your application, then I would be surprised if you got a call back.
Well, maybe if you pay me, it will look better.
Jared's
a good call. No,
that's ridiculous. You're never getting paid for this.
Okay, there's one question I want to ask you about football, and then there's a couple of basketball things that are awesome that I do want to touch on before we jump off. So, Andrew Luck is up. He's retired. For those of you who don't know, he played at Stanford, one of the highest touted, incoming quarterbacks. Played for the Colts, had a pretty amazing career. No Super Bowl victories, nothing like no MVPs, but like what he did with what he had was fantastic. But he was like, I think what was he 29 when he retired?
Yeah,
it came out of nowhere, and he did it in a very tactful way that I think a lot of people respect. But at the same time, there was no warning.
He tried to until they leaked it on air.
Yeah, it's a good point. But he went out when he wanted to go out, and I think that rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. Where
is this Kevin announcing he's quitting the pod?
Yeah,
he already burnt down the other podcast I was involved in. So
this is true. But so my question is, do you think Andrew Luck has a case to be inducted into the Hall of Fame?
No, I don't think so.
If you had a vote, no way.
No.
Okay, is it just longevity, or you just don't think he was good enough?
I just think you gotta have a combo of like longevity with a lot of stats, like our beloved Matt Ryan, right? Or
is Matt Ryan better than Andrew Luck?
I mean, I would tell you that Matt Ryan has a better case to get into the Hall of Fame than Andrew Luck because he's in the top 10 of every stats. Now you can argue like the game's changed, it's easier, whatever. Probably true.
Jesse conveniently is supporting a Hall of Fame that is more of a compiler's journey of stats that don't matter.
Do you think that Andrew Luck has a better chance to get in the Hall of Fame than Matt Ryan?
No, I mean I guess that's the question.
I don't even think it's much of a debate. Like there's zero chance, and this isn't just like a Matt Ryan homer thing. Like
no. I almost wish you would
either have to have
Ryan.
Extreme success in a short period, like Terrell Davis, like Jared's beloved Terrell Davis, right? Like career cut short because of injuries and everything.
But the
like,
best of what you did for a period of time.
Yeah, he was the very best. He's got a Super Bowl victory in there, like fantastic.
Sandy Koufax.
So you either have to have an amazing amount of success in a short period.
Lynn.
Or
Jeremy Lin,
a very long career where you can compile enough stats that when you just look at the list, you're like, oh yeah, I mean, this is in the top of guys, and he's neither of those.
Yeah, I agree. Had he won,
and he wasn't even the best quarterback ever. Of like, there was no year where you're like, Andrew Luck's the best quarterback.
I agree with that, but
someone might fact check me, but no MVPs,
No,
right?
no
MVP
MVPs
for Andrew Luck.
Accolades.
He probably had years where he's in like the top 5 of passing. I got to leave here now and go look up Andrew Luck stats. I didn't know we were going to talk about him. No, he's not making it in.
Okay, well, I think
College Football Hall of Fame, maybe.
No, he already did. I was there. I actually got to hang out with him and his dad after
Ollie.
for
Ollie.
that was actually a fun night, and his voice is really deep. It is. Okay, well, I'll let him know.
The answer
You don't
is
think
no.
he should be in the Hall of Fame?
Text him. It's not my fault.
That's true. But if you had a vote, do you have a vote?
I'm not super worried
you
you're
were
going to
like-
be able to let him know either. So.
I know you got your credentials at the Manning camp.
Yeah, I have
We'll
a
talk about
media
that
pass,
later.
but
Yeah.
I don't quite have that yet.
That's when you know you made it. Okay, I want to talk a little bit about the NBA because, and I'm excited to talk a bunch of football stuff, but we're going to save it. So, the NBA, there's some awesome stuff that's gone on. So, first off, Lillard has, after 11 years of dedicated service to a team that arguably he was very loyal to a team where I don't know that he ever really had a chance to like win a championship or whatever. They never like put what they needed to around him. He finally, after they just drafted Scoot Henderson to replace him, has requested a trade, but he was pretty specific in his trade request. He wants to go to Miami. Jared, I'm catching you up right now. So the problem is Miami doesn't really have anything to offer other than Tyler Hero
And 3 picks, which they did offer last night.
Okay, but Tyler Hero is just like another guard in a team that already has a bunch of guards, and I don't think they
And
want.
white. You just want to say, and he's white, right?
He is.
Now for the white guy for Dame.
Yeah. The other problem is Tyler Hero got injured at the very start of the playoffs, and it made Miami better. Like that would be hard to be the centerpiece of a trade right now. I don't know what I know a lot of teams would want Tyler Hero. I just don't know what you're getting for him right now compared to, if he was a part of that run to the championship, I'm sure this would be a different discussion. So my 2 questions for you, Jesse, is what are your thoughts on players requesting trades and announcing the team so it kills their trade value? And number 2, Dame's been very loyal to Portland. I mean, and I do think it's genuine. I actually think he loves the city. I think he wanted to stay there long term. It no longer makes sense for him to be there. Miami doesn't like what they're being offered back, and so they're being. I mean, patient might be a nice word for it. What if they trade him somewhere else? So what are your 2 thoughts on those things?
I guess it bleeds a little into what we were talking about before. Like as a kid, I hated this stuff, right? Like I remember when free agency came out in the NFL and Dion was one of the big first free agents. Like worst day of my life as like a Falcons fan. Dion leaving, I'm mad. I rip all his stuff up. Like as an adult, doesn't bug me at all. I don't think there's anything wrong with like if you think you have leverage, try and negotiate for like what you want and get the best deal out of it. On the flip side, I don't think Portland's under any obligation of any type of loyalty to like do what he wants.
Take less to be cool.
Yeah. And to be honest, like it doesn't seem like there is a great trade out there available for Portland at all. And I would try and find a way to like not trade him and see if he's bluffing.
And play him in Scoot?
Yeah. I mean,
I'd be like the smallest.
I don't think
Scoot Henderson might be.
I don't think right now you're getting value back for him in any trade that's being offered or talked about. No one else seems to be rushing to the table with huge trades. So
true.
I think it's fine if Dame like put it out there. You got big social media. People love you. You're negotiating. Try and get whatever you can out of the negotiation. But like, I don't think they're doing him dirty if they don't do it by any means.
Would you who's your fan? Like
that being said, I'm a hypocrite because when the Falcons tried to get Deshaun Watson and then it fell through and then Matt Ryan was like, trade me now and it has to be to the Colts or the 49ers. I was like, yeah, you guys owe it to him.
Yeah, for real. No, there is a so my first really
also way different. Matt Ryan had nothing left at that point.
Well, plus Matt Ryan's a Hall of Fame quarterback in the NFL.
We both agree.
Yeah. My first experience with having your heart ripped out from free agency, I think where I really realized and like had a vested interest in all that was when A-Rod signed with Texas. Like in my mind, there was no chance that A-Rod wasn't going to be Alex Rodriguez he was drafted young. Griffey, A-Rod, Randy Johnson, like the Mariners had such a cool team that this young nuclear, like really cool core. And then all of a sudden A-Rod takes like $252 million from the Rangers. And it was just like, wait, he's just gone. Like we didn't get anything from him. He's just like the future of baseball was on the Mariners. And then he just went somewhere else. I really, in my mind, when I heard it, I was like, there was zero doubt in my mind he wasn't coming back, right? And that was just like, as a sports fan, it was like the worst. It was just so bad, which is why I'm not an Angels fan. In fact, I don't like the Angels. They're in my division. I don't like them. But if they just like play this out, try to show Ohtani that they're like loyal to him and they don't trade him, and then he just goes to another team, they don't get anything. They could literally like remake their entire farm system by trading him somewhere for the next 3 months. Like, Angels, trade Ohtani. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, this is a thing that just like, again, if you want to be like, oh, the good old days, right? Like, this is a thing across any industry, any business, media, sports, sales, whatever you're doing. Like, there's just a shift, I think, because of technology, access to stuff, social media platforms where like individuals can build their brand and have way more power than like an organization. When we're little kids, it's like, this is the team, these are the people. You could hold them there, you could force them to play. And now there's just a giant shift. You go onto any social media, players have bigger followings than the team that they play for. They have a louder voice. Players could get a large majority of fans to like turn on an organization where before everyone's just gonna like, and you even look in like sports media now. I mean, ESPN just laid off like a third of their talent a few weeks ago. Really good, like talented people.
Who are the 3 you're saddest about?
I don't know if I have three. Just like Van Gundy surprised me because he's so good. He's so sharp. And then David Pollock's probably the one I'm like most sad about just because I love that show and he's good on there. Also, super crowded table with McAfee coming in. Like there's a lot of people to have on College Game Day. But the McAfee thing's a good point too of just like you now have individuals who can go on their own, run their thing, and get to such a high level that they can demand what they want, right? And like ESPN giving all this money to bring McAfee on and at the same time letting go of these people, I think it just reemphasizes.
Do you like the McAfee fit with ESPN?
Here's the thing. I don't know if you listen to him a lot.
Not as much as you, not even close.
I like McAfee a lot. He's taken a lot of heat over like everything that's gone on. One, people blamed him. He got a lot of money, so people blamed him for all the firings at ESPN, which is bullshit. Like it's whatever.
Yeah.
Someone wants to pay him money and they let other employees go. Like, and I don't even know. I don't necessarily think those things are correlated. I think it's more a reflection of things have changed. Folks are really loyal to like individuals and not a brand like ESPN. ESPN is a very like, the ESPN that we grew up and fell in love with, like that is not the way people like to consume sports or media anymore. I even think we're going to see a shift of this. Like you and I like to think of ourselves as positive guys. This isn't really a podcast where we come on and like talk shit about individual players.
Call people out.
And to me also,
ours is more about like experiential sports.
I hate you so much. There is something too about just like, there's something so stupid about someone who's not talented enough to play sports at that level, talking shit on and like challenging guys who are talented enough to play it at that level, right? Like, and I get whatever people in media say, like, oh, that's our job. But you even see a shift, like McAfee's podcast is more about like buddies having fun, talking about sports. Players are much more excited to come on to his show. That deal he made with Aaron Rodgers is like really a revolutionary thing, right? Where Aaron Rodgers kind of chose like, this is my group of people. This is going to be the platform that I come on because I like how they treat me. I like the discussions we have about my career and what I'm doing.
And he liked the platform. They didn't try to control
versus
him.
Him showing up.
They weren't trying to trap him.
Versus him showing up on ESPN and Stephen A. Smith trying to fight him for 15 minutes about ayahuasca or him being a good teammate or whatever it is, right? Like, I think that is just the shift you're going to see, which I actually welcome like, I'm not a big fan of like, let's trash these guys. Let's talk about how horrible they are.
Well, and the other, like the opposite take thing has just gotten out of control too. Like,
well, it's fake. It's
fake.
contrived.
It's no matter what. If you guys if two people who are both in sports have never agreed on one topic, like, come on, like that's just dumb. That's it's
I'm by no means saying Stephen A. Smith doesn't draw huge ratings. Like he still does, but I think as a whole, ESPN is struggling. They really had to let people go because their numbers are struggling.
Yeah.
And when you go look at podcasts and sports media and you see who's like leading the way, it's Barstool Podcasts and McAfee and Ringer shows.
Did they contact the Blades?
We were close.
Yeah. We were in the running.
Top 15. Like if you go look at ratings and they usually cut off at 10 and we're just like right below that.
Yeah.
We're about to get
Well, I heard they were going to require us to be always in studio. I'm like, the future of our podcast is experiential, you know?
I quit. Another 4 months.
Keep going.
Now.
I didn't want to.
Another 4 months from now, we'll have a new pod.
I loved.
I don't even know where we're going, other than we're in the middle of a massive shift. Whether it's like player empowerment, like sports media empowerment of like individual brands. You look at what Bill Simmons did.
You have commentators
like,
making more than the athletes now. I mean, it's crazy, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Romo's going to make more money in his contract. Like, and Romo was a good quarterback, but he's going to make more money being a commentator than he was as a quarterback. It's crazy.
No, and I think this whole giant rant started at a different like free agency question, but really this is just the shift in
I'm glad
sports.
you brought it up, though. It
goes
deal.
into college too that we're dealing with NIL and transfer portals. Like it's just things are different.
Yeah. I want to just go over a couple of the other big names that got let go. A couple of these like blow my mind, right? So Todd McShay. Like
that was my third, obviously.
Mind.
I love Todd McShay.
I know. I was just like, why are you getting rid of Todd McShay? Like all he does is ad. That guy I've never been annoyed at a take. He's just like, dude, he's like a staple. I don't know.
Yeah, that one's a little weird too, because I doubt any of their coverage. The draft is like more popular than ever. Also, I don't know the financials of everyone's contracts.
Yeah, me neither.
And I don't know how bad Disney's looking at ESPN as an asset and just saying like, this is hemorrhaging money and we got to cut a huge portion of the talent pool. So
a couple of the other names, Jalen Rose. I can't get into Jalen Rose. I don't know why. He's just like, he's not my dude.
Yeah,
I don't know.
He'll have a Ringer pod next week. So
they're soliciting it like crazy. Keyshawn Johnson, Max Kellerman. I think that Max Kellerman, I felt like he was being forced on us for years. I think he's an amazing dude. He just needs to be at Showtime where boxing still matters. Like ESPN doesn't care about boxing, and that's what Max is so good at.
Yeah. Or all of these guys will just do what everyone's doing right now, which is go start your own distribution channel with your own podcast, and your fans are going to come with you, right? If someone loved Keyshawn and he starts his new podcast that he now owns that he can't be fired from, like those fans are going to go with him. And then he's not forced into like, the tough thing is like, you don't really know how any of these guys, their shows, their podcasts, everything might be different when they don't have some producer telling them how they have to talk about it.
Yeah. And for some of these guys, this might have been a welcomed experiential type of firing. The one I'm happy about is Chris Chelios. Like for some reason, every time he talked about hockey, I was just like, yeah, that's why I can't get into hockey because I don't have anything. Anyways, Matt Hasselbeck, I'm okay with it. I don't really care. Steve Young, I actually like Steve Young's take, but I kind of feel like he was going through the motions the last couple of years, and so it doesn't surprise me. And that guy probably needs to retire. Neil Everett made me a little sad.
Yeah, there's just a lot of long time, but again, there's just a shift of like you're going to see like those McAfee type of personalities, like that's what people are drawn to right now. Mm-hmm. And Steve Young's not down in a beer and showing up in his sleeveless shirt. I was going to say, is
McAfee going to just be
doing backflips off a dock in Tennessee or whatever, you know?
No, it's entertaining for sure. Okay, there's one last thing. The ESPN thing, I'm glad we talked about that because I actually
you had it on your notes, and I brought it up without even knowing, which is kind of like...
No, I know. I thought that was interesting. But
I wish Jared would have been in touch with us, and he would have known to get all of this dust off of my spot.
There's one thing that happened in the NBA that I want to talk about, and it's not Victor Wembanyama. Like, I don't need to talk about it. Like, he's a giant. He's going to be good. But he plays for the Spurs. None of us are actually going to care. Just like we didn't really care about
I was
Duncan.
out on him the second his team assaulted Britney Spears. Out.
Yeah, no. If you don't, he lost every American sports fan. How do you not
use that moment to just like get back in there with Britney Spears and like post together? Do an IG live with Britney.
A little collab. In fact, should we invite him in the studio and mediate this?
And Britney.
Yeah.
And bring back the free Britney campaign.
She's free, Jared.
She's free.
There's nothing to bring back.
Okay. Something happened in NBA in some free agency with it's kind of like The Hobbit, how it was like, oh, the least likely of little guys, got the ring chose him, and he had to go take it back to Mordor. There's a dude named Paul Reed. Okay. So there's a player named Paul Reed. He's on the 76ers. So in basketball, every league has their own rules with free agency and what teams can tamper with people and make them offers. And then if they make them an offer, well, when you're a restricted free agent, you get to go test the market. You get to get an offer. If you accept an offer, then the team that you were with has a chance to match that offer and keep you. So this is crazy that this happened. And I have a theory about it that I'll say at the end. But so Danny Ainge is the president of the general manager of the Utah Jazz. He offers Paul Reed a contract. It's a 3-year deal, but the deal is guaranteed for a year, and then the other 2 years are guaranteed if you get to the second. So if the Jazz made it to the second round of the playoffs, so if they got past the first round, then that deal automatically vests, and that player has 2 more years of guaranteed contract. The problem here, and if for people like, yes, so what's the big deal? The big deal is the Utah Jazz aren't even going to try to make the playoffs this year, let alone win the first round. Like, the chances of that happening are so slim. And the 76ers, like, they're like top 6 in contention. If they made it to the playoffs and didn't make it to the second round, it would be a giant, just like a horrible, horrible season. So Danny Ainge literally was just like, hey, we're making an offer that is 3 times worse than the offer that you have to accept if you want to accept him. And then the 76ers.
It's a great FU move where it's like, it's not even though you match an equal offer, it's definitely not an equal
nothing's
offer.
Equal about it. And the 76ers did match because they needed to keep this guy. And Danny Ainge just like tied up 3 years of cap space for the 76ers. If I'm Daryl Morey, I'm so pissed. If I'm Danny Ainge, you obviously just don't care.
Sticking it to him.
You don't even care. Like, there's no chance Daryl Morey's ever trading with the Jazz or whatever moving forward. Like, this was such a dirty move. I want to hear your thoughts on it, and then I'll tell you mine.
No, I love it. I love Ainge. I love a guy who just like, he's that feisty as a player, always pissing people off, chip on his shoulder, and he's like just still carrying it to his grave, obviously.
I think it's awesome. So, yeah, my take is this will probably open up like experiential, like restricted free agency, right? So no, it's I don't
Jared,
think.
Can you?
Should I make sure that's a real word?
I know, no, but this is going to take a long time. I need you to.
That one was forced. You can edit that
in
one
the
out.
Editing room. I need you to take out every time Kevin said experiential.
I'll just put like a beep or something.
No, but so Danny.
Speaking of that, we're almost done here, and then I'm going to go get a colonoscopy, and I'm going to make it experiential for the team. I'm going to get all the footage.
I'll film it.
I'm going to send it to you guys. I want you to cut it up and make Instagram clips around it, Jared.
I want you to make the pull-ups and give them faces and names.
pull-ups.
I'll do like a
Pull-ups.
remix, like put into a rap. And
No, but so I think I love it when people are like, I don't care about what this person thinks. That usually means they care a lot, right? So I think that like the owners and the GMs and the presidents of these teams that making trades, they're constantly worrying about like their reputation, about if this agent would work with them again. Well, if we don't trade Dame to Miami, then other players might notice that we didn't respect his wishes and we might be least likely to get it. They're very calculated in everything they do, and everything they do has a ripple effect, and they're very aware of that. And so a lot of times when we don't understand moves that are made, we probably don't understand what like half of the intentions were behind that decision. Danny Ainge, I really think what you said is right. As a player, he was feisty, and I really don't think he cared. Like, I mean, he did things as a player where you're like, oh man, like I
think
guess
Danny
you don't
Ainge is
care.
very worried what people think about him.
But as a GM, Danny Ainge already has a reputation. He's made a name. He's already made money. I think Danny Ainge is just like, no, I'm going to do this job however I want to do it. I'm not going to care about the ripple effect or the repercussions. And I'm okay if other owners, if I break some of the good old boy rules, we would never actually do this to each other.
He's old school.
He's old school and he doesn't care. And guess what? It brought his championship to Boston, and the Jazz.
And he's going to bring one to the Utah Jazz.
Yeah, I don't know about that, but every movie he's made since he's been here has been pretty savvy and pretty innovative. And the haul that he got for Donovan was great. The haul that he got for Rudy might be the greatest trade of all time. But this trade that completely just like kind of, you're almost messing with the 76ers at this point. I loved it. I was proud of him. I just wanted to make sure we talked about it because I thought that was awesome.
Good job, Danny.
Thanks,
get out
Danny.
of here.
Thanks, Danny. Hey, good luck
Jared,
with your...
great job today. I don't really have a colonoscopy today.
You don't?
But at some point...
I honestly figured you did.
I was excited to go film it.
At some point, I'm getting one, and I will get you the footage because I know how you're into some weird stuff.
I do like those colons, so...
All right. Well, hey, Blades is back. It's good to be here. See you in 3 months.